This episode may contain language or discussions that may be offensive or triggering. Refer to the episode summary for details. So, welcome to the SheConfidential podcast. Today, I am chatting with Miss Dionne Watts-Williams, and she is the brand messaging Maven. And I was just telling her how I love that title. And so, we're going to be talking about the things that you need to do to brand yourself professionally on social media. And we're going to talk a lot about LinkedIn pages and kind of give you some insights to help you with your online presence and social media branding. And so, one of the things when I was preparing for this conversation, I thought about that popular tweet that went viral for all the wrong reasons not too long ago. It was, and for people in the audience who aren't familiar with it, I'm going to read it so that people understand what we're talking about here. So this was tweeted by a recruiter, and she said, "I just offered a candidate $85,000 for a job that had a budget of $130,000. I offered her that because that's what she asked for, and personally, I don't have the bandwidth to give lessons on salary negotiations. Here's the lesson: always ask for the salary you want, and in parentheses, deserve, no matter how large you think it might be. You never know how much money a company has to work with. Hashtag be confident." So this woman was later terminated by her employer
Yeah.
for this tweet. And when I first saw it, I mean, there's so many issues packed into it. And so one thing, I,
So many.
there's so much wrong with this. But the first question I had for you when I was preparing for this conversation is, huh,
Mhm.
okay, she got fired behind this. A lot of people would say it was from her personal account. I didn't look at the timestamp, but I believe it was not during work hours. So, how was this something that spoke to her professional brand? How would potential employers, now that she's looking for a new job, how will they look at this and view
Mm.
this? So, how does this? What do you think about this tweet from a personal branding perspective?
Okay. And yes, I did see the tweet. I just had so many thoughts going through my mind at the time. I think that on one hand, it really did paint her and her employer in a bad light, right? Because even though she wasn't, on the clock or, might have tweeted from her personal account, it was such a missed opportunity, right? She could have helped to give some more context to job
Yeah.
seekers, to help prompt them, into doing their due
Mhm.
diligence, because a lot of, corporate climbers don't do that. Um, and also she could have like showcased her skill set. So it was a missed opportunity. I think rather than saying, I don't have the bandwidth to give lessons, that was like, oh, I was like, sis, no, that's not right. That was a prime opportunity to, step up, maybe exercise and showcase her negotiation skills, really in a way that both, satisfied her employer and made her look good to, incoming employees,
Yeah.
right? It's really about like thought leadership. And even if you're not on the clock, like that's still your area of expertise. So a blog post, just a standard post on the importance of negotiating, the power of negotiating, right? Without really making herself come across as someone who's cold and just uncaring. I really think it was a missed opportunity. And yeah, it goes to show too, like your employers are still expecting you to adhere to a certain code of conduct, even if you're not on the clock, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah. And what I love, what I'm hearing you say there is because you know what, I'm gonna keep it real. I see people do it all the time on my personal social media. I'll see people who are at work and they'll take a situation at work, and I know we all have to vent,
Oh,
but they'll
yes.
vent. And I'm thinking to myself, one, you never know who in your audience, like your closest circle, or actually your biggest people who you can go to for potential job opportunities and things. That people who know you, like that's your primary market right there, in terms
Yes.
of hearing about job opportunities and be able to speak for you and keep you in the loop with things. So when I see these things, it's like, for one, your judgment was lacking, that you felt it was okay to do this on social media. And secondly,
Mm-hmm.
there's a way to do all things. And so, what I appreciate about what you just said is that you pointed out that missed opportunity, because it wasn't that she couldn't
Right.
speak on it, it's how she
Right.
chose to speak on it. Because, like, you offer great options. She could have done that as an instructional tweet on, or a blog post on how to do salary negotiations. She didn't even have to mention that situation specifically, because personally, I would have been
Right.
embarrassed to say that I didn't coach this woman, or this is what I did, because it almost sounded like she was proud that she did it.
Right. It sounded like, oh, I'm proud that and maybe that, some employers are about that bottom line,
Yeah.
but it was like, yeah, like it really made her seem like the bad guy, like just not really looking out for the best interest of the applicant. And like you said, there's a way to, we all do it, we all complain, we all have our gripes, but there's a way to do it so that you're not putting yourself like under scrutiny.
Mhm.
I feel like, especially with social media, people feel that it's okay to just, and by all means, this is a free country, you have freedom of speech, but you're not free from those consequences.
That
So
part.
I'm like, okay, I don't know. I don't know what the future is looking like for her right now. I don't even know what happens
Well,
as a
she was
result of that.
terminated. Yeah, she was
Right.
terminated, and I saw she was interviewed by the LinkedIn editors, and and she was really, even in the quotes in that article, she was a little defensive, and saying that these are job applicants' responsibilities, and recruiters aren't. It's not the recruiter's job to educate you on the salary range, and
Well, now it's not her job at all because someone else, like, I mean, that's fine, but just know that everything you do, especially on social media, it's out there now. Like, it has a lasting footprint. So it might not have been her job, but look where it got her.
yeah,
I don't know. I hope things worked out for her.
yeah. I wonder how that has impacted her prospects. Although I'm pretty sure she's learned and will be really careful on social media moving forward. It's a
Right.
lesson for all of us, and just how to share in a way that promotes your brand and your expertise, as you said. Showcase, use these things not to just rant, but to actually showcase your skill
Hmm.
set to people and how you can be their problem solver.
Right, right. And honestly, the great thing is that now, on the flip side, the public now has this awareness like, wow, like this is a strategy that a lot of recruiters use. So, hopefully applicants are more taking their job search more seriously, really understanding what they bring to the table, doing their research on, what's a fair, asking, salary, and really coming to the table with more confidence because unfortunately, usually the ball's in the recruiter's court. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And understanding your brand strategy, your personal professional brand strategy, is one way to build that confidence. So
that
before
part.
we move forward, can you describe, like, what is a brand, personal professional brand strategy?
Right. So your brand strategy, a lot of times when people think about branding, which is it's a buzzword, people like to just use it left and right, but I think there's a little bit of a misconception around what branding is, what a brand strategy is. So your brand is how you communicate your value in the marketplace. How do people experience you? And your brand strategy is really the long-term intentional plan, right? That will help you achieve your professional goals and ultimately your personal goals. Because I always tell my clients, your being professionally aligned really has an effect on other areas of your life, right? So it's really about being intentional. And I know logos, taglines, pretty colors, all those things they're really fun and they are important and they have their place. But first and foremost, you have to have a really clear vision about where you want to go in your career and in your business. And so that's the intent behind a brand strategy. It's kind of just the roadmap for your profession. Yeah.
Yeah. And it sounds
Yeah.
like it's pretty essential, because that's your
It is.
vision.
It absolutely is. And really it's really about communicating your value, contributions, what can an employer expect from you, right? The
Mhm.
idea between or behind your brand strategy is to really make sure that those decision makers feel like they have to meet you. Like, this person knows her stuff. I really need to talk to this person. And so, yeah, that's the best way to really land your ideal career opportunity, to really advance your career, is by developing a really strong, really unique, authentic personal brand and strategy. So,
Yeah. So
yeah.
when thinking about how our brand strategy, how we illustrate that and demonstrate that to not just our current employer, but prospective employers, because we always have to be thinking about what's our big plan, where do we want to be down the road, whether that's moving up within our current organization or if we want to go to a different one or if we might want to become an entrepreneur at some point. We're always everything that we do professionally
Hmm.
and personally to a degree is contributing to that brand strategy. It's either strengthening it or it's hindering it or you're just staying in place with it. So,
Right.
with all that in mind, is social media a benefit or a minefield for professionals?
Yeah, as we just discussed, it can be a minefield totally. I think it goes back into that intentionality, and really knowing what is it that you want to be known for in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself, not just, in the next 12 months, because so many people, they go from one bad job to the next just because they want to get out, and they're making
Yeah.
really emotional, hasty, decisions, but where do you want to go? What do you want to be known for? And then, okay, how can you leverage social media, specifically LinkedIn? I love all things LinkedIn,
Yeah.
but how can you really leverage that to help propel you? So leveraging social media can, it can become a disaster if, someone is not very intentional and clear and just very haphazard, just kind of throwing things out there to see what sticks. And so what happens as a result of that, people are now confused because you know that someone's going to look you up, someone's going to Google
Hmm.
you. So if there's all this conflicting information, it just confuses your prospects now. So when you're coming across as all over the place, people don't really trust that you'd be able to, solve their particular problem, even though that's totally possible. But you really have to be strategic and be intentional. Yeah, and how you show up online and offline.
And so when we're talking about being consistent, does
Hmm.
that mean, are you talking about LinkedIn specifically or kind of all your social media? Because, a lot of people feel like, okay, LinkedIn is for the professional stuff. And then I get to be on Twitter talking about Real Housewives and Bridgerton and Kanye and Kim and all that stuff. So they feel like I can just, I can go in and I can be real laid back and
Hmm.
that's separate from my professional identity. So, how are
Yeah,
those related?
it's so much to unpack around that. I have had some clients who really have had to walk on eggshells when it comes to their social media presence, even personally, because their employers have very strict guidelines around giving opinions and things like that. Other ones, not so much. So it really just goes back to knowing what your goals are, and also, there are options. You can, check your privacy settings. People just blindly create these LinkedIn accounts, Facebook accounts without really giving thought to who's going to be seeing this.
Yeah.
And even if you wanted to be more cautious, you could self-censor. I know people who have multiple accounts, fictitious
Yeah.
names. I personally don't, because I feel like um, my personality is a part of my brand. Like, I love to laugh, I love to crack jokes. That gives people a glimpse into, who I am as a person. Now, with that being said, if you are totally okay with getting on that soapbox, you just have to be prepared for the fact that not everyone is going to receive that message well. Um, I think about what was it, Kevin Hart,
Yeah.
a few years ago,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
that tweet someone dug up from eons ago, maybe what was it, 10
Yeah.
years prior or something?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, he
those
didn't wasn't it the Oscars?
it was the Oscars, yeah.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing can really come back and haunt you. So you want to consider the pros and the cons based on your
Yeah.
industry, also your goals, and also understanding like you don't have to be on every platform. You know, some people are okay with just being on LinkedIn, others are okay with just Facebook. And it really
Yeah.
is a matter of, personal just preference. There's so much to unpack there, so many different ways a scenario can play out. But
Yeah.
really just take the time and just think about how you're showing up and the fact that potentially this could be something that won't go away. Even after you delete the tweet, right?
Screenshots.
Screenshots are real. Listen, I'm the queen of screenshots. Just ask my husband. I'm like, you didn't say that? Wait, let me check.
I
Let's
was
check
just
the
about to
records.
say,
Yeah, yeah.
honey, I screenshot stuff and send it to my sister every day, all day. It's like,
Yes.
oh my God, girl, did you see this? And because something I often tell people is when in doubt, make sure you go to HR and your human resources and you're
Yeah.
aware of what your organization's social media policy is. Because a lot of people don't know.
Hmm.
And then it also, what I appreciate that you're emphasizing is be clear on your goals and objectives.
Yes.
Because if you're trying to become an executive in a
Hmm.
financial services company, that's a more conservative industry.
Hmm.
And so you may want to avoid making posts that are political or, your
Right.
use of profanity. But if you're someone who's like an interior design or marketing, that might be a little bit more laid back and you're with a small boutique agency and they really encourage you
Hmm.
to be real and embrace your personality and be honest about what your values and interests are, then you might be able to get away with that a little bit more. And so that's why I appreciate that you emphasize understanding what your brand and strategy is, because that impacts everything. Where you're
Absolutely.
trying to go will impact what you get to do, and it's your choice.
Hmm.
Yeah, you get to do whatever you want to do, but you need to be aware of what the potential consequences are, because even with privacy settings, I'm telling you, I'm the
Hmm.
queen of screenshots.
Yes.
And I get a lot of screenshots.
Hmm.
Nothing is secret. And I've heard stories of people saying something got back to my job because of this. If you don't want it to get back or get out, don't even put it online. And so I know a lot of people who only have a LinkedIn account, and their
Hmm.
LinkedIn account is strictly for them to put their professional information, and they don't engage in anything because LinkedIn is getting a little, it's kind of transitioning a little bit. And we're going to talk about that in a
Yeah.
second
Oh
about
gosh. Yeah. I've
things.
seen some stuff on LinkedIn
Uh,
too.
but it's like, you have to not just be mindful about what you post, but what you like,
Yes.
because all of those things are records and you don't know who may see that. And depending on where you're trying to go,
Hmm.
it may just be as simple as I don't necessarily want people to know my position on things.
Right.
That could be a very great strategy, that you don't necessarily want them to know your political leanings or what your interests are outside of the professional setting.
Yeah, there's so many blurred lines. I feel on one hand it's a good thing that
Yeah.
we are more comfortable just sharing a little bit about ourselves. Like I love seeing the inspirational posts on LinkedIn, whether it's, someone who've overcome cancer or,
Yeah.
a new, birth of a child, things like that. But then, especially in the past 8 years, I've seen a lot of like politically charged content. And I'm like, whoa, and even from people, and as much as I love LinkedIn, people on my who I'm connected with. And so
Yeah.
I had to make that decision. Like, I found some things very offensive, very inappropriate. And I really had to make that decision and just, disassociate myself, from certain people
Mhm.
because, there used to be a time where you would keep your political, opinion,
Yeah.
your professional life very separate. And there's a reason why. And I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
it's really, really sticky. It can be really
Yeah.
sticky.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It absolutely is. And I think, when I think about it in the context of a lot of the things that's happening and have been happening in this country, for Black people
Hmm.
in particular, I have some amazing people that I'm close to who are in the diversity and inclusion and equity space. And they really emphasize, we can't talk about workplace matters and things related to career without acknowledging the inequities that women face,
Mhm.
that Black people and the other marginalized communities and excluded communities, historically excluded communities face.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's absolutely true. But you also get to choose what, like you've emphasized, you get to design what you
Yes.
want your platform to look like. And even as a Black woman, I can choose to share, like, my policy in general is, I went through a phase where I was like really angry, and I didn't on LinkedIn. I would do it on my personal Facebook
I
because I
think
actually
all of
don't
us have.
care.
It's like you need
And
to
you go
vent.
through a phase where you're like really angry. And so I would share, like, you see what happened now? You see this? You see that?
Right, right.
And I'm very involved in like voter initiatives and stuff like that. But then I got tired. I think I just got like so tired. And I was like, who am I doing this for?
Mm.
Because other Black people know this pain. And I think it's almost re traumatizing us to constantly look at this, or it's re traumatizing me. And
Mhm.
so I don't share it on my social media the way that I used to. And to be honest, I generally don't even read about all the things intentionally. So, of
Yeah.
course, I hear what's happening, but I have to separate that from my own mental and emotional wellness.
Right.
And so that's my separation. But I know that for some people, because this is their passion, this is their work to educate people, because we're not educating Black people about what's happening to Black people. We're educating
Right.
everybody else.
It's the others, and
And,
that's
you
exhausting
know,
work right there.
yes. Yeah, and I'm like, "That's above me.
Yeah, yeah.
That's above me. I ain't educating anybody.
Yeah.
That's not my calling to educate on that."
Mhm.
So I leave it to those, but I can do it in my own way by having even this platform to be able to showcase Black professionals and talk about how things specifically kinda impact us in our community. But I think we have to be really clear on, and that's what I like that you said earlier, you've gotta really think about how you want to present yourself and how you want to show up, and try to be consistent, because yes, your personal social media is your personal social media, but if you're on there every day ranting and raving, hey,
Yeah.
somebody could screenshot it. And even though you only talk about, you know all the how your company's hitting all their objectives and metrics on LinkedIn, the other side of it can come out
Mhm.
that you're doing on social media, on your Facebook and Instagram side.
Right.
So you have to just be mindful of that and decide,
Right.
can this hurt me, or am I good with whatever?
Right. What's the goal? And what you said reminded me of two things. I have a really close friend who's she's a coach and a psychologist, and her theory is people go to social media to vent, and they really need therapy. Like, because we've been traumatized, which I know is not directly related to this, but I think what happens
Yeah.
is we're just so used to venting, just getting on the phone, but
Yeah.
really it's like you said, almost re-traumatizing. So now you have other people who are seeing that and it's triggering them. And the other
Yeah.
thing was, regardless of whether or not you choose to believe it, like everyone has a personal brand, right? While it's not something that you can build on your own because it's not really based on anything you can think of in your head, it there really are things that you can do to help, shape and give some context to your personal brand. And I think that's where people go wrong. I think, like, okay, now I want to make this next career move. So now let me focus on LinkedIn. And I'm like, you should have been working on this, all along. So it
Mhm.
really just spoke to those 2 points for me. And that social media for a lot of people is just a place to vent. And like I said, it's totally okay if you want to do that, but you have to think about the rollout, the fallout rather from that, and the fact that you already have a brand. So why not take advantage of it, basically? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's a wonderful segue to talk about LinkedIn.
Hmm.
So, LinkedIn is traditionally billed as the social networking site for professionals.
Hmm.
So, who needs to be on LinkedIn and why?
Very good question. I had someone, a family member, tell me, "I'm not looking for a job." This is just a few months ago. I'm not looking for a job. So I'm like, LinkedIn is not just for people who are looking for a job. It's for if you're happy at your job and you want to, again, build your thought leadership. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're looking for, volunteer opportunities, just general networking opportunities. I mean, LinkedIn is about networking. So I think everyone needs a LinkedIn profile. And like I said, at some point, whether you work a 9 to 5 or you have your own business, someone's going to look you up. And so the great thing about LinkedIn is that it helps with SEO, right? Search engine optimization. Because not only are you able to populate your profile and optimize it, right, with the right types of content for your prospects, but now you can say, these are the things, just like you would on your personal social media. These are the things that I am a thought leader, an expert in. This is my niche, and I'm going to showcase all of my talents and give my professional opinion. So it's essentially the same thing that people do on Facebook all day long, all the no tips I like to call like to call them, right? Like, okay, everyone's an expert, but like everyone is an expert on
Yes.
LinkedIn, right? So think about
Yeah.
that thing that you're good at, pairing it with your I told you I like to joke.
I'm telling you, all these Facebook experts. So you're right.
Yes,
We're talking about LinkedIn for professionals now, y'all. Y'all got so many chemists and like experts, like in
everyone's a
everything, war
scientist.
strategy,
Yes.
everything, biologists. Yeah, all these people on Facebook.
Yes.
And the companies are saying they're having issues finding people. They're not in the right
No, they're
place.
not. Clearly, they've missed a whole like population of people who, yeah. So yeah, I mean, the great thing about LinkedIn is that you can connect with anyone, whether it's nonprofit organization. I had one client who, she's a corporate, she's a travel concierge. So she was looking to connect with more corporate clients. And so we did our strategy session, and now she's building her thought leadership in that particular area and getting the attention of corporate clients there. So I mean, it's not just for people who work a 9 to 5 looking for a job. It's really if you're looking to network with other professionals who are looking for someone with your expertise, even if it's in a volunteer capacity, or it's a great place to get leads for speaking engagements, right? Some very interesting stats about LinkedIn. 3 people are hired every minute. Hired. Like, nope,
Oh my
no interview.
gosh.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Um, on the entrepreneurial side, businesses who post once a week, just once a week, and some businesses post 5 times a day, but those businesses see twice the engagement from their prospects on LinkedIn. So, another client of mine in my program, she's a life coach, and so she's targeting corporate trainers, really helping
Mhm.
basically working professionals heal from workplace trauma. And so she's been
Yeah.
able to tap into that market there on LinkedIn. So I always tell people, don't sleep. I love Instagram, I love TikTok, I love Twitter, I love Facebook, but like you can literally get some serious traction on LinkedIn. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the easiest way to expand your network.
Mm.
One of the things that I've done in the past when I've been trying to find people for particular projects is I will look at the people, what do we call it? Connections. That's what we call them on
Uh-huh.
LinkedIn, don't we? I often calls them something different. So I'm like, are they followers? No, I think they're
Yeah, you can have
connections on
followers and
LinkedIn.
connections. Mhm.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because I do follow some people. You're connected with people you actually know, and you can follow people.
Yeah.
Because Facebook has that too. You've got friends and followers.
Mhm.
Um, but on LinkedIn, I guess with the people that I'm connected with, because then I can actually see who they're also connected with. And so if I've been trying to get introduced to somebody that
Yeah.
I don't have a direct
Mhm.
line to, I can see who I do have a direct line to and say, hey, can you make this introduction? And so it really expands your resources because if you're interested in getting information like doing an informational interview with somebody to talk about potential opportunities in a certain field or at a certain organization, you can go on LinkedIn and see who you know that
Yeah.
knows
I
them.
literally just told someone that last week. Like, just see who you like. Everybody knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. So even if you don't have a direct
There
connection
you
at that
go.
company, you need to be led. That's what networking is. That's exactly what it is.
Yes.
Another
Yes.
stat I had come across was that for each new connection on LinkedIn, you're now introduced on average to another 400 people. 400 people that you don't know. And so when I hear people
Oh my
say, and
goodness.
this is on social media general, I hear people say, well, so and so sent this person sent me a request. I don't know them. I'm like, I network with strangers. I'm okay with the people who are in my circle, but yes, I always am looking to connect with new people. That's what
Mhm.
keeps the momentum going. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what social media
It's
is.
social.
It's like,
It's like,
it's social, and especially like LinkedIn, like your Facebook, I can get it, especially if you're showing pictures like of your
right.
kids and things like that. You might want to keep that circle
Hmm.
smaller. But on LinkedIn, I have a couple of friends who are like that too. They're like, I'm not LinkedIn friends with anybody I
I'm like,
don't
well, why are you
know.
here? What's the
I'm
goal?
on there to expand. Not, yeah. I mean, I'm not telling them the personal things. I mean, first of all, I'm not telling anybody on any social media about personal things that I
Hmm.
don't care if it's a screenshot. But yeah, LinkedIn, that's what I'm there for, to expand my
Yeah,
network.
yeah. There's a
So,
saying in my coaching circle, we
yeah,
call it OPP, other people's people.
I like
Like,
that.
I'm trying to leverage someone else's audience, somebody else's stage, platform.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah,
essentially what networking it is. And it's not to say you can't make progress with your own circle, but networking the smart way is really going to just catapult, all your efforts. So I'm like, yeah, that's the way to go. And plus, it's just
yeah.
fun meeting new people.
It is. It
Yeah,
absolutely is. And thankfully, LinkedIn doesn't have the spammy issues that you see like on Instagram or
yeah.
Facebook. It's like, what are those? Who are they sell those crypto coin
So
people? Like they send you a gazillion requests on Instagram and Facebook. I haven't seen that on LinkedIn
not yet. There
yet.
are some spammy people on LinkedIn, and I think that's because unfortunately a lot of entrepreneurs are just taught how to just go right to the pitch. Like you're sending
Yeah,
someone a connection request without a personal note to say,
right.
"Hey, I see we have this in common." Like it's really about building a relationship. And you can always tell when someone's like, "Do you need help with your branding?" And I'm like, "You did not read my profile at all. You just copied and pasted." So it's really
They're asking the
right,
branding
right. I'm
people,
just like, you
Maven.
didn't even look at the header. Forget reading the rest of the page. You didn't even look at the the
Yeah,
top. So yeah, it's, really about building connections, and even if it's not a case where you can sell to the person, and I say sell because what I have to offer is helping someone, but it's about, again, networking comes in many different forms. So it's not just by way of a sale. And so, yeah, I think, but LinkedIn is also picking up on that. It knows when someone is copying and pasting messages. And so if you do that enough,
mm,
it's going to be like, wait a minute, you're just, whether it's to your contacts or to people that you're not
yeah.
necessarily connected with. So, I mean, it definitely is
Hmm.
one of the
Good.
more proactive platforms when it comes to being like really spammy. Yeah.
Good. Well, that's reassuring. What what are some of the top 3 LinkedIn mistakes that people make?
Hmm.
And it doesn't have to be 3, but what are some of the top
Top
LinkedIn
mistakes.
mistakes? Like,
I'm going to say a boring title, like Dionne Watts-Williams, accountant. Just like you have so much, there's so much opportunity because you're so much more than your title. I always say that. So, your title, oh, this is a big one. You have too much or too little information on your LinkedIn profile. I think it's that perfect balance. So, of having like the right information and the right amount of information. Sometimes I go to someone's LinkedIn profile and it's like tumbleweeds. Like you just opened up an account and just left it. And then other times you have people who copy and pasted their resume or just put a whole dissertation. I mean, either way, it's going to be a snooze fest. It's just like you're not really getting anyone's attention
yeah,
because it's still an online platform. So you want to think about, the attention span. I think you have a good 7 seconds at best to get the attention of someone who comes to your LinkedIn profile. So really having that balance.
mhm,
Um, I would also say not appealing to your prospects visually, right? So a lot of
mm,
people want to hide their face on social media. Put a nice headshot
yeah,
up. Do something with that that header image space, right? If you're an entrepreneur, promote an event. If you're, a corporate climber, maybe put a picture of yourself in your element, like doing what you love. There's so many things, people not letting other people do the bragging for them, getting those what do you call them, recommendations or endorsements. Like there's so many missed opportunities on LinkedIn. So those are like a few off the top of my head though. Yeah.
And so you have all of these gems for people on their
Hmm.
brand strategy and which includes their LinkedIn profile. And so I want to talk about what do you do as the brand
Right,
messaging
right.
maven?
Okay, so Maven. I said, what can I call myself? I know brand messaging is communicating your brand, right? So messaging is whether it's written, whether it's, verbal, also like positioning, right? A lot of people have the right content, but it's falling on deaf ears because they're not speaking to the right audience. Or they might be speaking to the right
Mhm.
audience, but their content sucks. So my job is to, a maven is just an expert connoisseur. And so my job is to really help both entrepreneurs and corporate climbers come out of professional obscurity, right? I know what it's like to be in a job where you feel like you need to settle for less, right? And so my mission is to help people avoid that, really just using, my backgrounds in PR and communications, using my writing skills to help my clients become more comfortable sharing their stories, right? Sharing what makes them unique to the right prospects. Um, and yeah, just not being professionally aligned, it can affect other areas of your life. And I could talk for like an hour just about my story alone, but it's just really important to me to help my clients understand that they have a voice, they have something unique to offer. Um, I deal with so many mindset issues around imposter syndrome, which is really big, feeling like you're not good enough, like you need another credential. And, they need to know they don't have to sacrifice fulfillment just for an income. Like you can have it all. You don't have to choose, you can do both. So that is in summary what I do as the brand messaging maven. Yeah.
Well, and what are some of the services and programs that you offer?
So, wow, let's see. So my signature programs, I offer one is the It Factor Intensive. It's my 4-week personal branding training. Is for corporate climbers, for entrepreneurs, and we really work within 30 days to help improve your visibility, your credibility, help you become positioned as the expert in your career, your business, your industry, so that you can hone in on and monetize your it factor. Your it factor is the thing that only you can do really, really well. And yeah, that's really a group coaching program. I'm with you all the way, doing a specific set of, exercises. And we also offer done for you, services on top of that. Secondly, I offer VIP experiences. And these are really for, I would say, busy entrepreneurs who want to stop doing all the things, themselves, or
Yeah.
and just really operate in their zone of genius. Also for the corporate climber who is really tired of being the smartest one in the room, but no one knows it. Like, I know what it's like to be in corporate
Mhm.
America.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I
you're the
like
best kept
that.
secret. No one wants to, what is the
Yes,
appeal
I
of being
like
the best
that.
kept secret? So I really work with people they know they
Yeah.
want to do more in terms of visibility and they want to show up in their zone of genius. So with the VIP experience, we work one-on-one. We do a brand discovery session where I totally pick your brain. I mean, but the best thing about it is that my clients just show up and then I do all the work. So it's asking you about your goals, what makes you unique, your particular skill sets. Where do you see your life like 20 years from now? A lot of people don't take the time to flush that out. And then based on, all the series of questions that I ask, I really just build a suite of content, right? So it could be your resume, your LinkedIn profile, your elevator pitch, your bio, your website content. I've done a lot of media kits, speaker sheets, things of that nature. And then also with that experience, I develop a 3-month brand strategy plan. So even after our time together, you'll know how to use the tools, like what you should be doing, when you should be
Right.
doing them. Tons of resources. I also offer like one-on-one support for 3 weeks after that day.
Right.
And I also have, oh geez, that was a lot, wasn't it? So I
Oh,
also
yeah.
offer, it's the It Factor Accelerator. So that's like the It Factor intensive on steroids. So this is for people who are really more established, have an established personal brand, and they're looking for the accountability to really catapult their thought leadership um, part of their career or their business. So we do mock interviews, mock sales calls, really working on the implementation of what was picked up in the intensive. So a lot of, my clients struggle with like knowing what to say, how do you own the room, how do you network
Yeah.
strategically? That's a really big one. Like, how do you know what professional organizations to join? How do you know what's a quality contact? It's a very high touch program. Applications are required for that
Yeah.
because, it's for people who are a little bit more established. And then, speaking engagements.
Yeah.
So, workshops, seminars, keynotes. I can talk about, of course, LinkedIn, personal branding basics, landing your dream career, pitching yourself, to organizations or events for speaking engagements or even to the media. So those are just a few of the main ways that people can work with me. Yeah,
Wonderful. And so, what is your website, social media information so
sure.
people know where to
So the
find you?
website is workwithdionne.com, Dionne. And you can also find me at Work with Dion on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. LinkedIn, I still have my personal page, but it's D Watts Williams on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter. I'm sorry, on LinkedIn. I'm actually working with I have a LinkedIn ads person that I'm starting to work with. And so we're making the transition from a profile to a page, really weighing those options. But yeah, if you just search for me there, I'll come up, and I love answering questions. People DM me all the time, and I just love connecting with people. So yeah.
Wonderful. And so I'll have all of those links in the description box, both on YouTube and on the podcast apps. So before we wrap up, you had alluded to your personal journey. And so before we wrap up, because I'm
Right.
always really interested in people's personal stories, because I think we all have testimonies that can inspire at
Mm.
least one other person. And so if you could think about one part of your personal journey that kind of helped you or inspired you to hone in on your personal brand or helped you strengthen your personal brand,
Oh,
like
wow.
what would that be?
So
And that's a random
no,
question
that's
I'm
perfectly
throwing at you
fine,
right now.
and I've told this story, and I feel comfortable now. It used to make me cry because,
Okay.
it hits home, but I also realize that, like you said, people need to hear it because not everyone I'm not alone, so there are other people who are struggling with that. Um, so I was in what I thought was a really good job with benefits, right? 6 figures, corner office. I had an assistant. My assistant had an assistant. I was like, this is it. I have arrived. And so,
Yeah.
unfortunately, it was a situation where, as a Black woman in corporate America, I don't think I was expected to perform my duties. It was like, oh, we can check two boxes, right? And so the needle always moved for me.
Yeah.
I could never satisfy, the higher ups. And I knew I did good work. I had been in my career for years, maybe a decade prior to then. And so, really, just at the point where I was the first one to show up at work, the last one to leave, I would
Mhm.
actually, eventually, I developed ulcers from the stress of the job. And so, my son is now 8 months, 8 months. He's 8 years old, but I showed up when I was pregnant with him, maybe like 5 months pregnant, and called into a meeting, and I was let go after like pouring everything into this job. I mean, I was already emotional, right? Baby on the way. Yeah, like thank
Oh,
God my
right.
husband, he had steady employment at the time, but it was really just a blow to my ego.
Mhm.
Like I thought I had a good job. I thought I was doing a really good job considering the circumstances. And I couldn't even retrieve my things from the office. I said, "This is how you guys are treated." Like, it was horrible, but it was such a beautiful moment at the same time. So, fast forward, being home with my son for like the first year of his life, I used that time to just, tap into like the gifts that God gave me. Like, I'm like, you gave me these gifts, God. Like, why is this happening? And really, that imposter syndrome started to kick in, not thinking you're good enough,
Yeah.
taking on other people's opinions as gospel. And so I had been consulting prior and during my time there. And so I started just doing that, picking up more clients on the consulting side. And I found myself working with women who had the same issues. So it became not just about making you look good on paper, because I'm such a good writer. I can write with my eyes closed, up, like it's just a natural gift to me, and I enjoyed it. But it was like there was a deeper need. And what I realized was, even though I was giving people the things, right, the assets, people didn't know what to do with
Yeah.
them. They still struggled with, like, confidence. And the biggest piece of feedback I would get back from people was like, "Oh my gosh, is this me?" And I'm like, "Sis, that's you on paper. Like, you're the talent. Like, you're good. Like." And so I said, there's something here. Like, and so I really just developed a passion for that. And so, whether it's in your
Mhm.
business, like feeling like you need to work with just any client, whether it's in your career, feeling like you need to just chase the salary, and it's like, no, you can, nothing is worth your peace of mind, your your mental health, your physical health.
Mhm.
I was physically ill. And so I just made it my purpose. And then that's when it came all together. I think it was already my purpose, and maybe that was the reason. But, like, no, there's something here. I was put here to do this. So, yeah, I've been consulting
Mhm.
for about almost 15 years at this point. And it's just really been a blessing. I cry with my clients, we laugh, they become my friends, we build community.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like this is like the best feeling, to be aligned and loving what you do. And it doesn't feel like work. The money don't hurt, but it feels great. Like, to really like wake up
Yeah.
every day and just be able to pour into other people that way. So yeah.
I love it. I
Thank
love it. I'm
you.
so happy for you. I'm so happy for you and proud of you. And it's just, your testimony is an illustration of sometimes rejections are
Absolutely.
blessings. We get pushed out of our comfort zone, and it's like choices you never would have
Listen,
made had you got to
yeah, and
stay in
it
that
was
comfortable
something about
space.
hitting
That-
my rock bottom. I was like, "Oh, the devil's a liar." I was like, "This is
yeah,
not happening." And so you get that little backbone
yeah,
a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah, so I feel
yeah,
like that was the push that I needed. I don't know if I
yeah,
would be doing what I'm doing today. Even though as a child I was always a good writer. And that's a whole nother thing with the anxiety, and I had a speech
yeah.
impediment and all of that stuff. But like, if that professional experience didn't happen, I'm like, it just worked out. So yeah, yeah.
That's amazing. Yay, you. That's what I love. I get to meet all these
Mm.
amazing women who just inspire me and
Oh,
encourage me like every day. And everything you just said was what I
oh.
needed to hear this week.
See, this
So
is
thank
great.
you for that. So, and I'm not gonna
Child,
leave you hanging
yeah,
because I'm
I
not gonna
just went
mess my
to a
makeup
retreat.
up. But yeah,
Yeah.
I needed to hear
No
your
problem. I
story.
just went
So
to a
thank you
retreat
for
this weekend,
sharing
and I told
that.
my coach, I'm sending you a
Mhm.
bill for my makeup because you're not going to have me. And she's like, you're the crybaby of the group. I'm like, that's true, but yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
But you're not
me.
alone. You're not
Yeah, that's
alone
me.
at
It's
all.
okay. Yeah, it's okay. Is there anything that you would like to leave the audience
Um,
with before
let's
we
see. My
wrap up?
biggest piece of advice for the audience is just trust yourself. Trust your natural gifts, talents. You are enough. You don't need to chase another degree or credential or certification. I have to shake my clients sometimes, like, if you don't sit down and just sit in your greatness, like, yeah, like, not no one else on this earth has your it factor. Like, that is everyone was born with that thing that you can do, that is a natural God-given talent, so embrace that and stand firm in that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you for that. Well,
yeah.
I've been chatting with Miss Dionne Watts-Williams. Everyone, all of her information will be in the description box. So please make sure you follow her on social media. If you are looking to just get some insights on how to better leverage your skill set and you don't have the words, because a lot of us struggle with writing, if and how to communicate how great we are. If you just need somebody to help you get some insights, you definitely want to reach out to her. So thank
Yes.
you so much for chatting with me today. Y'all,
Thanks so much, Charlene. I really appreciate
oh,
it.
you are welcome. And this is a She Confidential podcast. Make sure you are subscribed either on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app so that you don't miss the conversations that you need to live your very best life. So until next time.